that thing of people who discover you at a certain stage, and then they like you for what you are during that stage, and then they want you to stay the same, or they're like they've encapsulated you, like the Jams and Gems mixtape. That was, I think most bands, if they were savvy, would say, all right, we're sort of mercurial, we're sort of changing all the time, and let's see if this is what people have seen and enjoy, like, maybe let's try to, okay, like, maybe that is us. Maybe it isn't up to us how we appear and what we make. So maybe the people have chosen us, and this is how we have to stay.
Though, because if you've established something based on the idea that you're creating from yourself, that's also something that you've established. So why wouldn't you pursue that element?
That's what we decided. I mean, we were like, with like Canyon Candy, for instance, like it was just like almost a statement of, you know, we aren't going to be loyal to any specific aesthetic, or like we're not just going to make dance music, and we might still use the sampling collage technique, but we're going to apply it to something that you might not expect.
I read somewhere that Meat Puppets were saying back when, I guess it could have been Meat Puppets too, it could have been Upon the Sun, but they were saying from the beginning, I think the people that knew us aren't surprised.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though the song, that Merkin Jerkin song you have, it kind of sounds like Beastie Boys, like instrumental jam. It starts off with kind of like a Western moment.
Yeah.
And you can hear it through the different albums. It's not that it's not moving or progressing or changing, but I don't think there might be a little bit too much reaction.
Yeah.
To that, because there is it's like if you put Les Claypool on something, you're gonna know it's him.
Yeah.
But he still has versatility to what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the song City Pals you've said was kind of and I can hear like a sitcom theme to it, you know. I mean, I know you described it that way, but what got me about it was that I could definitely hear before I even read Perfect Strangers. I was thinking it when you said that. There's a nostalgic element to it, but it's also it seems like to me there's a really hyper specific nostalgia related to that. So if I think back at a time period or a smell, I don't just think about that year or that time period. I think about really specific moments. And I was curious if you find yourself not just going towards general moods, like, because it seems like there's a very narrow way that a lot of people operate. Like, here's a somber tune.
Right.
But if you're ever trying to, you know, kind of encapsulate a specific, more abstract feeling in music.
Well, for me, I don't plan to find specific nostalgia or something, but with City Pals, I just as soon as that vocal melody occurred to me, I was just like, it brings you back to weird moments. Like often for me, it's like I'm listening to the radio in the car or something, and I might be 9 years old, I might be 16.
That's more what I'm referring to. Is that, like, not because I know I've heard that you guys are like, oh, we're trying to, you know, we think of a mood, but the moods seem like that's more of an abstract moment.
You kind of discover those in the moment of creation. You're like, a lot of times it's like, where does this come from and why? Or like, I didn't sit down and say like I want to make a Paul McCartney inspired thing or like, but it does come out sometimes. I mean, that chord progression I initially wrote on piano, and it was really slow, and then I recorded it with MIDI, which gives you the ability to speed it up and change the sounds. And I chose electric harpsichord and sped it up, and then it was like, oh, okay, that's what this is now. And then, you know, the bass line, it kind of reminds me of DeBarge a little bit.
Yeah.
Like if you change the sound set, it would be fairly DeBarge-ish.
Yeah, rhythm and that.
Yeah, or like, I Like It.
Yeah, I've heard that album a lot growing up.
Yeah.
Let's see, you have, people always ask about David Byrne. Were you a fan of True Stories at all? And have you also ever considered maybe the concept of a musical in that way?
I watched True Stories as a teenager, and I loved it. And I thought it was just the weirdest thing, like how this is sitting right next to Tremors or whatever, and what is this movie? What, you know, it didn't seem like, it seemed a lot different to my eyes and ears, obviously.
Is that something you guys think you could thrive in? Because the things a lot of people are like, I hate musicals, and I think that too, and then I think of True Stories, and I think of Blues Brothers, and I realize, wait a minute, there's maybe 3 or 4 of them that are kind of interesting ways to tell stories with music. And that movie had 3 soundtracks too, which was interesting to me. It had like the Kronos Quartet soundtrack, the Talking Heads soundtrack, and then it had like the actual actors soundtrack.
Right, with John Goodman singing and everything. Yeah. I've enjoyed like movies with music as part of the, like, what's that one, the Ladies and Gentlemen, it's about the young punk girls in the early 80s, the Fabulous Flames, or the
I know what
Ladies and Gentlemen,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Whatever that is, and she's got the makeup on, and
yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think the way you could maybe make it interesting is if it were about a specific like scene or like you know, some, you know, it's painting a picture of some insane, like, I don't know what a good setting would be, Violet Funk or something.
I'll throw a couple quick ones at you.
Reggae movies.
Okay, that was
really good reggae movies.
Oh, like
Rockers and Hard Rockers. Yeah.
Here's, I actually had an absurd question because I threw a bunch of really random ones down. I didn't know how many I had here. One was actually because you're talking about you started to grab the mic and started to use it to kind of get people involved, which reminded me of like Dillinger and the old dance hall type stuff.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. That's what gave us fortitude early on.
Yeah, I was wondering if you would be surprised if somebody did one of those reggae remixes on your music and made like a Javelin album or something like that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Would you think, oh, that makes sense? Or would you be like, where is this?
Yeah. I mean, we should give them the instrumentals and they should just get a big Echoplex, you know, and just dub it out, definitely.
If let's see here, without getting like caught up in any like the politics of money, who do you think deserves to be on money? Like,
money?
Yeah, well, like, you know, I've always heard, you know, in this country they put poets and artists. Like, who's somebody that you feel deserves at least some kind of like equivalent honor? Whether you respect the concept of being on bills or not.
Well, I mean, I think a really talented, like Brian Chippendale, who's drummer in Lightning Bolt. He has a project, Black Pus, and he makes comics, and he's just an extremely creative individual who is extremely talented and sort of non-compromising and just does what he wants. And you know, I'm sure I don't know his direct finances, but you know, he's not like Vincent Van Gogh going off into a field and getting, you know, shot in the chest, however it happened. But I've heard people say about the States that, you know, in Europe they get funding for the, you know, artists.
I meant
more funding.
actually more like they put them on the money. Like our money has presidents on it.
I see. I was wondering what you were going with. Okay. Okay. Well.
You know, like Antoine Saint.
Okay, so like, yeah. Okay, and we're talking American artists who would be on the bill.
Yeah, somebody whoever you like think.
Like Chuck Berry, Levon Helm.
We should be handing out dollar bills with Levon Helm on it.
Yeah.
I could go.
Maybe KRS-One or something.
Nice.
Probably Dylan. Dylan would be, is like the Mount Rushmore, you know.
Yeah, you just have to put him in.
Yeah.
You can't not.
Yeah.
There's artists like that I respect, but I've listened to so much that I'm not going to put it on.
Yeah. Prince.
And then if you guys had to, you have to answer this one. If there was another duo out there and you had to challenge them, whether it was like a tag team or a dance battle or a knife fight or a ping pong match, or what other famous duo would you go up against? What would it be?
Well,
you think you could take them, basically.
I'd like to play Rat-a-tat in ping pong.
That could happen.
See what happens. Yeah.
Is that your first show was opening for them? Is that right?
Yeah. Also, I think tan lines. It would be fun to have some sort of public debate with tan lines over some stupid subject.
Have you had those private debates with them?
No, we've met a few times, but there's been no debating. I just think it would be fun. They seem to like the idea of like speaking to the public.
You guys have a song called Judgment Night too. That kind of sounds like, reminds me of like a Vision Quest montage or something.
Yeah.
Do you have any feelings towards the Judgment Night soundtrack and how that affected the 90s rap rock?
Rap rock?
That maybe you've been holding on to for the last 20
I mean,
years.
I would be fabricating feelings, I think, if I did, but I mean, you can trace the lineage from like Run DMC and Aerosmith, and then like, oh, let's do that again, and Onyx and
I mean, there was a good
Metallica.
a lot of things go downhill really fast.
I think it was just like an record industry spike fad, but then it's happened again. You know, it's like Kid Rock and all that. It's like and Limp Bizkit and like those.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's maybe a fad that has surfaced enough times that it's like Sleigh Bells is they don't have rap on there, but I'd say it's in the same lineage of like fucking huge guitars and drum machines.
Are you guys thinking? I mean, when you guys made or put together like No Mas, you were already doing some Canyon Candy stuff, weren't you? Kind of starting to toy with that a little.
Oh well, yeah. The first cowboy track we ever made, it was from like 2007 or something, but it was just a loner one-off that didn't make any sense.
Are you already thinking about something else? Or are you guys just on this right now?
It was just like I want to sample a cowboy record, but we hadn't. It took until we were on tour in 2010, or maybe we started. I think maybe we mentioned it for the first time in like 2009.
Right now,
like,
is there anything like? Are you guys still in that mode where you're already like beyond the album that you've made?
Yeah. We're starting to talk. I think the next one. I think it could go a couple different ways, but we've had this idea for a long time, and it's hard. It's like maybe it sounds cliche, but we've wanted to do something that just represents like total freedom, and for a while, we've kind of call it No Rules, the No Rules mixtape or whatever. Just try to like, cause we haven't. I'd say one thing that's changed between Jams and Gems to High Beams is with Jams and Gems we were just being really cavalier and brazen about like samples and cutting and just almost just intentionally on one hand limiting ourselves and on the other hand liberating ourselves like and so I think I'd sense both of us kind of wanting to just cut loose and just like, I mean, like one.
So, but it seems that's interesting because it seems like there are two different elements because you guys have like a recording background, home recording. But it seems like the touring actually is part of the process for you to.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all a feedback loop. So like the first time we've ever released something into the world, like on a record, like. That then goes back and enters your process, like whether you like it or not, just like the way that you think and everything. And then like the first time you give an interview, like, or the first time you read an interview, or, that goes back in. And then first time you ever play a big show, like, and then the more times you do those things, the more they feed back in. And so, like at this point, I mean, where we used to be so production heavy, it was like all we do is produce, and then how the hell do we perform? Now we love performing.
You feel a lot more versatile. I mean, because you can go play a festival now and not pull it off.
Yeah, I'd say versatility. I mean, it would be fun. I think with the songs that we can play, like we could play a house party, or we could play a museum, or we could try to play like a summer festival stage, and hopefully we are versatile enough to encompass like those different venues.
Nice. Well, thanks for talking with me.
Of course.